Hello YouTube, this is the DVT Gamer Show, episode 171. I hope you all enjoyed the Sonic Adventure Let's Play. Me and Adam had a lot of fun making it. There will be a new Let's Play soon, but first I want to do some reviews. Now on to today's review. Now, I've been looking on the internet lately a lot, and I've seen a lot of games get very, very high scores. Example, Black Ops, and lots of other first-person shooters. And I was wondering to myself one day, would these games get as much praise and as good as a high score in 10 years' time? And I think no, because people's opinion and perception of how good a game is changed over time. Although, I was thinking to myself the other day, there is one game that has managed to hold a very good review score for over a decade, and that game is none other than Chrono Trigger for the Nintendo DS, the Sony PlayStation, and the original Super Nintendo. This is one of the best RPGs I've ever played, and considering the game is 15 years old, it's definitely stood the test of time. So let's begin this review. Now, where's that Eki pouch? That is far my DS and begin this review. Now, Chrono Trigger is a very, very good RPG. It's probably my most favourite RPGs of all time. One word of warning, this review is going to be quite long, at least 2 to 3 parts. And second word of warning, this review will contain spoilers, so if you don't want the plot spoiled, you might want to watch a review that does not contain spoilers. Now that we've got all the warnings out of the way, let's start the review. So the story of Chrono Trigger. Well, the story of Chrono Trigger is very, very good. You begin the game in a small town where every few years they have this festival. And Chrono, who looks a lot like Goku in Kaioken form, he goes to the town to meet up with his friend, who's a girl who's also a scientist / awesome nerd. This friend, she's always wanting someone to try out experiments on. So, for some bizarre reason, every time she wants an experiment done, Chrono always volunteers for the, to be the, crash test dummy, if you see. And this, friend of his, whose name is Lucia, has built a teleporter. Yes, a teleporter. And Chrono gets inside the machine, and it works perfectly, and he's amazed he's not harmed. But then, this is before he meets the test out the teleport, he meets a small princess called Marley. And he takes a little trip down the festival with her. And because she likes to do this sort of thing, she wants to test out the teleporter herself. So she gets in the teleporter wearing a strange pendant. And for some bizarre reason, the teleporter has a strange reaction to this pendant. And it sends her back in time. And she doesn't return. Now, obviously, Chrono thinks this princess person is very beautiful and sort of falls in love with her. So he instantly puts the girl's pendant on and tries the exact same thing again and gets sent back to the same place that she's been sent to. So the game's plot revolves a lot around time travel, which I think is a really cool concept because the game takes you to so many amazing places. You go to see a dinosaur world, a world that's really far into the future with loads of robots and one of the coolest characters in the game. So I really like the time travel plot. this is one of the anime cutscenes for the game. I thought I'd show it whilst I talked about the story because it's one of the game's best qualities and best features, I think. These cutscenes are only featured in the Sony PlayStation version and the DS version. Although in the Sony PlayStation version, apparently the load times are quite long, but I never cared about load times in my life. But I chose the DS version because it was the cheapest version I could find, and also because it would be portable, I could take it on the go. So I needed something to do whilst I'm on the bus on the way to work. Anyway, let's talk about the graphics for the game. Let me just load up my file, and we'll get to that next section. Now, the graphics for the game, I have to say, if you are a very young gamer, you will probably think these things look like shit, but the graphics to me, I can only describe them in one word. Actually, several words. Nostalgia, beautiful, glorious, awesome. There we go, 4 words. These graphics are very, very good. See, most of the game is sprite-based, and these days, sprite graphics aren't used. It's kind of sad, because they do have a nice nostalgic feel to them. And I am quite fond of sprite graphics. The anime cutscenes are done like a cartoon style, and I really enjoy watching them because some of them are really cool, especially the ones involving my favourite character, who is the frog dude. Controls for this game. The controls for this game are very, very good. There's 2 control styles to choose from. You can either use the touchscreen to coordinate your commands in the battles, or you can use buttons. I chose buttons because I didn't really want to use my stylus too much, and I prefer to use buttons when I'm playing an RPG. The music for the game is also very good, although some of the music sounds very, very familiar. Let me show you what I mean. Right, YouTube. This is the extra menu. The extra menu you can only access after you beat certain points in the game. Now, if you go to Music Box, you can listen to music tracks from certain points in the game. And one music track in particular sounds very, very similar to something I've heard quite recently a lot on YouTube. Just give me a moment, I'll find it. Okay. This song is called Robo's Theme, and I think it sounds a little bit too familiar for its own good. Stop! Hold on a second. Now, those of you who have a very good knowledge of songs and probably pop culture references, the opening of that song kinda sounds like the Rickroll song, you know, never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna turn around or hurt you. Yes, I'm a terrible singer, but I have to say, that song sounds, just the opening bit, sounds very familiar. Now, the reason why I'm picking up on pop culture references is because recently I watched a video from Clan the Grey Wolf, and he picked up on the same thing, and I thought I'd put it in this review for a joke and just for some, just for a reference sake. So in this game, certain songs may sound like songs that were around at the time. There was also another game that did this, but that game has never been released on the Virtual Console since, and that game is none other than Earthbound. Thank you, Nintendo. I don't see why it's such an issue. If Square can get away with it, why can't you? Because I think that's the most common reason people think why Earthbound isn't on the VC. Anyway, enough about my Earthbound rants. Let's get back to this review. Hold on a moment. And we're back. Now that I've finished my little talk about pop culture references and music, I want to get into my other stuff. Besides the pop culture references, this game has some fantastic music. When I was researching this game just before I bought it, I came on a review on YouTube, and apparently in this review, the person who composed this music locked himself in a room for several days, and he even got himself stomach aches and himself hospitalised composing all this awesome music. So the guy definitely was a workaholic, and he definitely did a really good job of the music. But next time, mate, when you're producing video game music, don't put yourself in hospital over it. You know, take a break every once in a while. But other than that, you did an excellent job. Very, very good music. Very, very good soundtrack. Gameplay for the game. The gameplay for the game, it's an RPG, and it's one of the longest RPGs I have ever played. I've only beaten the game once all the way through, technically. The game itself is about 30 to 40 hours long, but because of the extras menu and because of all the unlockable things, you can easily rack up twice that. The game has a lot of unlockables, and it has huge replay value. The game has a whopping, brace yourself for this, over 10 endings. I think there's about 15 in total. Because in certain points of the game, if you go to an area called the End of Time and talk to this bucket of water, and if you beat the final boss, you can get a different ending to the one that you got from beating the game the first time around. And it's a really interesting concept because that gives the game so much replay value. And I really like that, because these days, a lot of games, once you beat them, that's it. But this game surprised me in how much replay value it had due to all the different endings it had. Good about this game. Well, good about this game, the story is excellent. I really like the time travel thing. The gameplay for this game is fantastic. One thing I really liked was the map. All you have to do is walk up to things, the words come, press A to enter it. It's very, very simple. It's not like in Final Fantasy where you're walking around the overworld and you randomly get hit by enemies. You only get hit by enemies in certain areas in the game, like dungeons and occasionally the odd town. Another thing I really liked about this game was the cutscenes. The cutscenes in this game are absolutely amazing. I myself am a really big fan of Japanese animes. But most of the time I tend to watch them in English. And this game has a lot of references to Dragon Ball Z because all the art design for the cutscenes and the characters themselves were drawn by the same person who drew the Dragon Ball Z characters. So the game's art design is really, really nice. Anyway, YouTube, I've run out of time for this part, but in the next part I will talk about cutscenes and also talk about characters and a lot of other stuff. Until then, bye!